Welcome to Story Spark, where we ignite your curiosity with some of the most intriguing tales from history and beyond. From spine-chilling true crime stories to epic legends of bravery, we offer narratives that capture the imagination and leave you eager for more. Sit back, unwind, and let us guide you through the captivating world of storytelling. Ted Bundy's name is often synonymous with the term serial killer, marking him as one of the most unsettling and mysterious figures in criminal history. What makes Bundy's story especially eerie isn't just the high number of victims, estimated around 30, though the actual figure could be higher, but the stark contrast between his public image and his hidden life. Bundy embodied the classic wolf in sheep's clothing, a charismatic, attractive, and seemingly accomplished law student who harbored a monstrous secret. His ability to blend into society while committing horrific acts of violence against young women stunned the world and forced society to face the terrifying truth that evil can wear a veneer of normalcy. Bundy's case not only captivated the public but also had a profound impact on criminal psychology, law enforcement, and media, shaping how we understand and tackle serial crimes. Early life and psychological development. Born Theodore Robert Cowell on November 24, 1946, in Burlington, Vermont, Ted Bundy's early life was shrouded in secrecy and confusion. Raised by his grandparents, Bundy was led to believe that his mother, Louise Cowell, was his sister. This revelation, learned later in life, is thought to have contributed to Bundy's profound identity and anger issues. As a child, Bundy was seen as bright and well-behaved, but early warning signs were evident. He displayed a fascination with knives and was known for his cruelty toward animals, behaviors often associated with future violent tendencies. Bundy's teenage years were marked by social awkwardness and feelings of inadequacy, especially in relation to women. These experiences of rejection and failure likely planted the seeds of resentment and rage that would later manifest in his brutal crimes. His early relationships, notably with a woman known as Stephanie Brooks in the media, significantly influenced his psychological development. Her rejection is often seen as a pivotal moment in Bundy's life, steering him towards violence as he sought to reclaim a sense of power and control. The first murders. Bundy's first known murders began in 1974, initiating a terrifying spree across multiple states. His initial victims were young women in Washington and Oregon, many abducted from college campuses. Bundy's method was chillingly effective. He would approach his victims in public, often feigning injury with a sling or cast, and ask for their help. His charm and attractiveness disarmed these women, making them easy targets. Once isolated, Bundy would overpower them, typically using blunt force to subdue his victims before killing them. He disposed of the bodies in remote areas, sometimes returning to engage in necrophilic acts. The randomness of his attacks and the lack of a clear pattern between victims made it difficult for law enforcement to identify a connection, allowing Bundy to continue his spree unchecked for months. The fear and confusion gripping the Pacific Northwest during this time highlighted the challenges faced by law enforcement in dealing with a predator who struck at will. Escalation of violence. As Bundy's confidence grew, so did the frequency and brutality of his attacks. Moving to Utah in the fall of 1974, Bundy continued his spree, leaving a trail of victims in his wake. The women he targeted shared similar physical traits. They were young, attractive, and often had long, dark hair parted in the middle, a reflection, perhaps, of his desire to recreate the image of his first love, Stephanie Brooks. Bundy's methods became more refined and violent as he experimented with various killing methods, including strangulation and mutilation. His ability to evade capture was bolstered by his mobility, as he crossed state lines to commit his crimes. This movement from one jurisdiction to another created significant challenges for law enforcement, as police departments at the time struggled to share information across state lines. Bundy's escalation reached a peak during this period, as his attacks became more frequent and his thirst for control more apparent. The growing body count and the brutal nature of the crimes attracted national attention, but Bundy remained elusive, slipping through the gaps of an investigative system not yet equipped to handle such a complex predator. Ted Bundy's arrests and escapes. Bundy's luck ran out in August 1975 when he was stopped by police in Utah for a routine traffic violation. Officers found suspicious items in his car, including handcuffs, a crowbar, and a mask, leading to his arrest on burglary charges. However, Bundy was soon linked to a series of local murders, thanks in part to eyewitnesses who had seen him near the crime scenes. Despite the mounting evidence, Bundy insisted on his innocence, using his legal expertise to challenge the prosecution. He represented himself in court, a decision that gave him access to case files and allowed him to manipulate the legal process. In June 1977, Bundy escaped from a courthouse in Aspen, Colorado, where he was awaiting a preliminary hearing. He spent several days on the run in the mountains before being recaptured. Undeterred, Bundy escaped again 6 months later from Garfield County Jail by crawling through a hole in his cell's ceiling. This second escape allowed him to flee to Florida, where he committed some of his most infamous crimes before his final capture. The final murders. After escaping from jail in Colorado, Bundy traveled to Florida, where he resumed his killing spree with unprecedented ferocity. On January 15, 1978, he broke into the Chi Omega sorority house at Florida State University, attacking 4 women in just 15 minutes. Margaret Bowman and Lisa Levy were brutally beaten and strangled to death, while Karen Chandler and Kathy Kleiner survived despite severe injuries. Bundy's attack on the sorority house was shocking in its boldness and brutality, marking a significant escalation in his violence. Less than a month later, Bundy abducted 12-year-old Kimberly Leach from her school in Lake City, Florida. Her body was discovered 2 months later, discarded in a pig shed. The murder of a child represented a new low in Bundy's criminal career and highlighted the depths of his depravity. Bundy's final capture came shortly after this crime when a Pensacola police officer recognized his stolen vehicle. His arrest ended his reign of terror, but the scars he left on the communities he targeted would endure for decades. The trials and media circus. Ted Bundy's trials in Florida turned into a media sensation, with the public and press engrossed in the unfolding drama. Bundy's choice to represent himself in the Chi Omega murder trial allowed him to play a prominent role in the courtroom, where he cross-examined witnesses and delivered opening and closing statements. His charm and intelligence were on full display, and he used the attention to craft a public persona that masked his true nature. However, the evidence against Bundy was overwhelming, including bite marks on a victim that matched his dental records. The jury convicted him in less than 7 hours, sentencing him to death. The subsequent trial for Kimberly Leach's murder was equally dramatic, with Bundy again attempting to manipulate the proceedings. Despite his efforts, he was convicted and sentenced to death once more. The trials attracted widespread media coverage, making Bundy's case a national obsession and highlighting the evolving relationship between media and the criminal justice system, as Bundy's case was among the first to be televised, setting a precedent for future high-profile cases. The psychological profile of Ted Bundy. Understanding Ted Bundy's mind has been a challenge for psychologists and criminologists alike. Bundy exhibited traits of both narcissistic personality disorder and psychopathy, including a lack of empathy, a grandiose sense of self, and a tendency to manipulate others for personal gain. He was also a sexual sadist, deriving pleasure from his victims' suffering and degradation. Bundy's crimes were not merely about killing, they were about exerting power and control, fulfilling his need for dominance. Bundy's life was marked by struggles with feelings of inadequacy and rejection, particularly in his relationships with women. This deep-seated anger and resentment likely fueled his violent behavior, as he sought to assert control in the most extreme way possible. In interviews before his execution, Bundy fluctuated between denial, confession, and blaming others, including society and pornography, revealing his inability to take responsibility for his actions. His case has become a crucial study in criminal psychology, providing insights into the mind of a serial killer and the factors contributing to such extreme behavior. Ted Bundy's execution on January 24, 1989, marked the end of one of the most notorious and terrifying criminal careers in American history. By the time he was led to Florida's electric chair, Bundy had become a symbol of pure evil, a man whose charm and intelligence masked a horrifying darkness. The journey to his execution was fraught with legal battles, appeals, and last-minute confessions as Bundy tried to delay his fate. In the weeks leading up to his execution, Bundy sought to manipulate the system one last time by offering details about unsolved murders in exchange for a stay of execution. He confessed to additional murders, providing grisly details that added to his already extensive list of victims. However, these confessions, whether entirely truthful or another ploy for attention, were not enough to save him. Bundy spent his final hours in a cell at Florida State Prison, aware that his time was running out. Despite the gravity of his situation, Bundy remained composed, a facade he had maintained throughout his life. On the morning of January 24, he was led from his cell to the execution chamber. Outside the prison, a large crowd gathered, some holding signs that read, "Burn, Bundy, burn," while others waited in silent anticipation. Bundy's final words were reportedly directed at his family, expressing his love for them and offering no apologies for his crimes. The execution itself was carried out with the usual efficiency, and Bundy was pronounced dead at 7:16 a.m. In the aftermath of Bundy's execution, his story continued to captivate the public's imagination. Documentaries, books, and films about his life and crimes have kept his name in the spotlight, sparking debates about criminal justice, psychology, and the nature of evil. Bundy's case has become a touchstone for discussions on serial killers and continues to serve as a grim reminder of the potential for evil that can lie hidden beneath a seemingly ordinary exterior. As society reflects on Bundy's legacy, it is essential to remember the victims and the profound impact of Bundy's crimes on their families and communities. The story of Ted Bundy remains a chilling testament to the depths of human depravity and the enduring quest to understand and prevent such horrors. Thanks for joining us on this journey through one of the darkest chapters in criminal history. If you enjoyed this deep dive into Ted Bundy's life and crimes, be sure to subscribe and stay tuned for more captivating stories from the world of true crime and beyond.